di mana program ini didesain sebagai upaya meningkatkan kualitas pendidikan dengan menggabungkan saintifik dari luar negeri, dalam hal ini dosen dari University of Southampton, para praktisi yang concern di bidang pertanian, serta dosen-dosen di lingkungan Fakultas Pertanian Universitas Brawijaya. Untuk itu kita akan membagi sesi ini menjadi dua bagian. Yang pertama nanti materi dari praktisi ya yang akan mendiskusikan tentang success story business in the agricultural sector. Jadi Mas Sandi ini sudah istilahnya malang melintang di bidang pertanian ya. Sedikit saya membacakan profil beliau bahwa beliau ini adalah pengusaha di bidang pertanian lulusan IPB ya. Dan beliau saat ini sangat aktif ya membina petani yang dikaitkan dengan kegiatan bisnis ya, di antaranya owner perusahaan Mitra Tani Parahyangan, CEO PT Sinergi Tani Indonesia, ketua kelompok tani, dan ketua P4S Mitra Tani. Jadi prestasi beliau banyak sekali ya, di antaranya beliau juga sebagai Duta Petani Milenial Indonesia di Kementerian Pertanian Republik Indonesia, serta penghargaan Kick and the Heroes pilihan pemirsa tahun 2020. Saya ini kebetulan dulu mengikuti Mas Sandi, ini sangat senang sekali. Baik, perlu kami informasikan kepada Mas Sandi bahwa kegiatan kita siang hari ini insya Allah akan diikuti sekitar 300 mahasiswa Fakultas Pertanian di Universitas Brawijaya, mungkin 300 plus, yang mereka ini adalah mahasiswa baru Mas Andi di jurusan Agribisnis. Nah, adapun topik mata kuliah yang terkait ini adalah dasar komunikasi, sehingga nanti kami berharap Mas Andi bisa memberikan materi bagaimana sebenarnya ilmu komunikasi itu dipraktekkan di dalam agribisnis atau bisnis di bidang pertanian. Kemudian juga hadir beberapa dosen dari profesor, doktor ya yang mengikuti event ini, serta para alumni yang kita share linknya melalui YouTube. Jadi ini live streaming juga, sehingga ini aksesibel untuk publik. Untuk itu silahkan Mas Andi, kita beri kesempatan sekitar 60 menit ke depan untuk memberikan materi kuliah tentang prinsip komunikasi dalam agribisnis. Silahkan Mas Andi.
Baik, teman-teman semua, terima kasih banyak. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat ini siang ya, selamat siang dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Rabbi sahri sadri wa yassiri amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Terima kasih banyak. Pertama-tama saya ucapkan Pak Agus Junaidi ini salam dan salam takjim, Gurunda dari Brawijaya yang diperkenankan saya untuk mengisi apa ini. Saya lebih ke bukan kuliah tamu ya, tapi lebih ke berbagi saja dengan teman-teman semua. Lalu tadi juga saya mendengar ada profesor, doktor, para alumni dari Universitas Brawijaya yang tentu hari ini hadir di dalam forum yang sangat bermanfaat. Salam dan salim takjim dari saya. Izinkan saya belajar di hadapan ini baru 252 mahasiswa yang hadir, mahasiswa-mahasiswa baru, calon penerus ya, insya Allah estafet di Duta Petani Milenial. Jadi hari ini teman-teman semua, sedianya saya ada di Jawa Barat. Hanya kemarin mendadak dari Kementerian Pertanian Republik Indonesia atas nama Duta Petani Milenial, saya sedang melakukan kunjungan kerja di Sulawesi. Saat ini saya sedang berada di Makassar, kemarin ada di Bantaeng, lalu juga di Polpang Tangoa, dan saat ini bertatap muka dengan teman-teman. Semoga kelak bisa di Brawijaya ya. Amin. Baik, izinkan saya untuk share teman-teman semua. Ini diminta untuk oleh Pak Agus diminta untuk sharing ya. Ini bukan kiat sukses ya. Untuk sharing dengan teman-teman semua yang mana dalam momentum hari ini teman-teman saya akan share beberapa kegiatan yang saya kerjakan, lalu di momen kedua kita akan belajar terkait bukan belajar sorry, kita akan coba berdiskusi terkait manajerial perusahaan yang saya bangun hingga di tahun kelima ini. Lalu di pertemuan ketiga, di minggu ketiga nanti insya Allah kita juga akan bicara bagaimana ilmu komunikasi ini yang tentu bisa diterapkan di agribisnis yang kita tahu sama tahu gitu ya. Kita berkomunikasi seperti ini juga kan ini dari dasar komunikasi. Kalau nggak bisa komunikasi ya biksu. Gitu. Jadi teman-teman semua, ini adalah sekilas layang pandang di mana topik yang saya bawakan petani itu keren, di mana banyak di antara teman-teman anak-anak muda yang masih memiliki paradigma konservatif, di mana petani itu yang kita masih punya pikiran bahwa petani itu tidak keren, petani itu lusuh, petani itu kumuh, petani itu pakai caping, kotor-kotoran dan lain sebagainya. Nah, hari ini saya hadir untuk coba brainwash teman-teman semua bahwa saya sudah mengerjakan ini dan teman-teman saya sangat berharap bahwa sekali lagi teman-teman bisa menjadi estafet kepemimpinan selanjutnya atau estafet duta petani milenial selanjutnya. Tak kenal maka tak sayang, teman-teman semua banyak mungkin yang bertanya mahasiswa baru, Kang Sandi ini siapa sih? Orangnya gimana sih? Usahanya seperti apa sih? Nah, monggo teman-teman semua silahkan ada selayang pandang sedikit yang semoga bisa menggambarkan usaha saya apa yang sedang dikerjakan. Selamat menyaksikan.
Mari kita sambut Sandi Okto Susila.
Sandi Okta Susila atau yang akrab disapa dengan Kang Sandi merupakan putra daerah Cianjur yang mulai menekuni bisnis pertanian pada tahun 2014 ketika ia masih menjadi mahasiswa semester 5. Mengenyam pendidikan di kampus pertanian terbaik di Indonesia yaitu Institut Pertanian Bogor atau IPB, menjadikan Sandi memulai karirnya di bidang pertanian. Pemuda kelahiran Cianjur 1992 ini aktif dalam berbagai kegiatan. Saat ini Sandi menjabat sebagai Ketua Kelompok Tani Mitra Tani Parahyangan yang membawahi 385 petani binaan, Ketua P4S Mitra Tani Parahyangan, serta owner dari perusahaan Mitra Tani Parahyangan yang merupakan salah satu perusahaan di sektor hortikultura sayuran di Cianjur. Fokus utama Sandi adalah memenuhi permintaan klien yang bergerak di bidang horeca, hotel, restoran, dan catering, serta retail. Selain kegiatan usaha yang dilakukan, Sandi juga mendapatkan amanah sebagai Site Manager dalam pengelolaan subterminal Agribisnis Cianjur periode 2019. Perusahaan Mitra Tani Parahyangan adalah roda utama Sandi dalam menjalankan bisnisnya, yang fokus utamanya adalah memasarkan produk hortikultura sayuran segar untuk segmen modern market. Mitra Tani Parahyangan memiliki budaya perusahaan dengan tagline Mitra Bersama, di mana tagline tersebut mengandung arti mandiri, integritas, loyalitas, respek, amanah, dan bersama kita wujudkan itu semua. Dalam memenuhi permintaan konsumen yang berkelanjutan, Mitra Tani Parahyangan menjalin kerjasama dengan para petani di berbagai wilayah. Saat ini petani yang bergabung dengan Mitra Tani Parahyangan sebanyak 385 petani dari berbagai wilayah. Mitra Tani Parahyangan saat ini menggarap lahan budidaya milik sendiri seluas 8 hektar dan dipercaya oleh PT PN 8 untuk mengelola 94 hektar lahan yang tidak produktif agar dimanfaatkan oleh para petani yang tergabung di Mitra Tani Parahyangan. Mitra Tani Parahyangan menerapkan 4 tahapan proses pasca panen yang diantaranya sortasi dan grading, pembersihan, penyimpanan, dan distribusi. 25 klien telah mempercayakan kebutuhan produknya kepada Mitra Tani Parahyangan agar disuplai sesuai dengan spesifikasi permintaan masing-masing klien. Saat ini, Mitra Tani Parahyangan memiliki kantor pusat yang berada di Jalan Kiai Haji Abdullah bin Nuh, Pesona Cluster Blok B nomor 11 dan 12 Cianjur, Jawa Barat. Dan lokasi gudang produksi berada di Kampung Pada Kaki Kulon, Desa Tegalega, Kecamatan Warung Kondang, Cianjur, Jawa Barat. Membina para petani dan berbagi pengalaman di sela-sela kesibukannya adalah hal yang sering dilakukan Sandi dengan mencoba membangun konsep agrowisata di perkebunan Mitra Tani Parahyangan. Kini Mitra Tani Parahyangan menjadi salah satu objek kunjungan agrowisata dari berbagai wilayah. Mitra Tani Parahyangan berusaha memberikan after sales terbaik dengan melayani komunikasi setiap harinya, memberikan akses kepada para klien 7 kali 24 jam dalam berkomunikasi, dan merespon cepat dalam penanganan di lapangan. Mitra Tani Parahyangan, bring the health with our master vegetables.
Baik teman-teman semua, jadi itulah selayang pandang apa yang saya kerjakan, yang alhamdulillah di tahun kelima ini masih tetap berjalan. Saya menyadari bahwa ini berkat dorongan, berkat bimbingan, berkat support dari Bapak, Ibu, Profesor, Doktor, Pak Agus, teman-teman semua, termasuk mahasiswa baru. Ya, jadi alhamdulillah terima kasih sekali. Dan sesuai dengan background yang saya jalankan, teman-teman semua, alhamdulillah saya sempat mengenyam pendidikan di IPB, Program Studi Agronomi dan Hortikultura. Lalu saya lanjutkan di S2, Magister Manajemen Bisnis. Ya, alhamdulillah sampai saat ini tetap belajar. Ya. Nah teman-teman semua, jadi ada dua hal yang harus teman-teman pahami di masa perkuliahan yang sedang teman-teman jalani saat ini. Teman-teman memiliki hak dan teman-teman memiliki kewajiban. Teman-teman kalau misalnya bicara masalah kewajiban, menjadi suatu harga mati teman-teman belajar semaksimal mungkin. Apa yang dikerjakan di Brawijaya hari ini, yaitu teman-teman harus belajar semaksimal mungkin. Ya, jauh-jauh, ada yang dari Malang mungkin, ada yang dari Jakarta, barangkali ada yang dari Cianjur, barangkali dari Jawa, dan lain sebagainya. Harga mati teman-teman harus belajar. Nah, lalu selain dari kewajiban, teman-teman juga punya hak. Hak di sini yang bisa teman-teman ambil ataupun tidak. Ya, nah, pada masa itu saya mengambil hak yang bisa saya ambil, gitu ya, karena ini menjadi suatu pilihan, gitu ya. Apakah teman-teman ini akan belajar dari sisi soft skill? Karena kalau misalnya bicara hard skill itu menjadi suatu kewajiban teman-teman semua. Tapi kalau bicara soft skill itu teman-teman bisa pelajari ataupun teman-teman tidak. Tetapi ketika teman-teman belajar, maka akan bermanifestasi pada hasil yang tidak akan pernah mengkhianati proses, gitu ya. Nah pada masa itu teman-teman semua, saya kebetulan alhamdulillah diberikan amanah menjadi ketua umum himpunan mahasiswa agronomi. Nah, lalu juga saya diberikan amanah di FKK Himagri. Lalu juga saya bicara di konteks nasional. Lalu ada event besar pada masa itu yang alhamdulillah teman-teman mungkin kalau yang generasi lama mengetahui ya, ada event besar di IPB namanya Festival Bunga dan Buah Nusantara. Nah, FEBN ini saya alhamdulillah terkontak dengan para alumni, dengan Pak Rektor. Ini adalah rektor saya, teman-teman semua. Nah, ini juga Pak Dekan yang saat ini menjadi Pak Warektor gitu ya, Pak Warek. Dan ini adalah saya nih, teman-teman semua, yang kucel, dekil, ini masih mahasiswa ya. Belum punya uang, sekarang juga nggak punya uang. Nah, ini adalah wakil dari ketua umum saya, Mas Udin, gitu ya. Nah, saya ini adalah pada masa di FKK Himagri, dalam cakupan kita diskusi di tingkat nasional, lalu juga ini kita belajar. Nah, ini di soft skill-nya, kalau di hard skill-nya saya belajar bagaimana berbudidaya yang baik, bagaimana katakanlah kita belajar terkait, kalau saya di agronomi ada namanya vegetasi gitu ya. Jadi kita merencanakan suatu proyeksi pengendalian dengan di dalamnya apakah ada rumput daun lebar, daun sempit dan lain sebagainya. Kita bisa proyeksikan itu. Disinilah dua hal yang tadi teman-teman bisa ambil, kewajiban wajib, tetapi untuk bicara hak teman-teman bisa diambil ataupun teman-teman tidak. Teman-teman semua, selain dari itu yang teman-teman saya rasa tadi saya dengar dari Pak Agus bahwa teman-teman adalah mahasiswa baru, patutlah bersyukur bahwa teman-teman hari ini hadir di dalam forum yang sangat bermanfaat. Banyak guru-guru kita di sini yang saya alhamdulillah di semester 5 diingatkan lebih awal, di mana ketika semester 5 teman-teman semua gitu ya, dan teman-teman itu pasti akan menghadapi suatu hal seperti ini. Langkah yang harus ditempuh ada 3. Yang pertama adalah teman-teman ini apakah harus menjadi seorang profesional yang mengejar karir gitu ya, di suatu perusahaan tertentu, ataukah teman-teman ini harus menjadi seorang cendekiawan, belajar menjadi dosen, mungkin konsultan, penyuluh, dan lain sebagainya. Atau teman-teman harus menjadi seorang wirausaha yang mandiri, berdiri di atas kaki kita sendiri. 3 pilihan inilah yang pada masa itu juga teman-teman saya hadapi, gitu, yang alhamdulillah saya diingatkan lebih awal dibanding teman-teman yang lainnya. Saya diberikan pemahaman bahwa saya harus cepat mengambil keputusan. Itulah yang teman-teman saat ini bisa memutuskan. Teman-teman saat ini jauh lebih muda, saya rasa jauh lebih fresh. Silakan putuskan di 3 pilihan ini, teman-teman mau mengambil yang mana. Ya. Nah, lalu teman-teman semua, saya bicara bukan di Universitas Brawijaya, bukan di universitas lain, tetapi di universitas sendiri. Yang mana ketika pada masa itu di IPB, teman-teman semua gitu ya, saya tidak bicara universitas lain, saya tanya tuh, gitu ya, mayoritas lulusan memilih itu jalur kemana sih? Rudi, kamu mau kemana? Andi, kamu mau kemana? Kamu mau kemana? Ternyata banyak tuh teman-teman pada masa itu. Gitu ya. Sekarang saya percaya bahwa entrepreneurship menjadi sektor yang sangat seksi, gitu ya, untuk teman-teman semua. Tapi pada masa itu teman-teman banyak yang mengambil di sektor profesional, yaitu karir, gitu ya. Lalu saya mengambil sektor apa? Dulu saya ketika melihat banyak orang yang berbelok ke kanan, maka saya melihat bahwa kok yang belok ke kiri jarang ya, gitu ya, mengambil resiko dan lain sebagainya. Maka saya tentukan pilihan menjadi seorang wirausaha yang saya berniat ingin mandiri, berdiri di atas kaki kita sendiri. Kang Sandi tahu jalannya? Tidak. Kang Sandi tahu langkahnya? Tidak. Lalu bagaimana Kang Sandi bisa memberanikan diri menjadi seorang wirausaha? Nah, teman-teman semua, yang saya ingin memberikan gambaran secara logis adalah bagaimana kita tahu ada lubang di depan kalaulah kita tidak melangkah. Teman-teman semua, mahasiswa-mahasiswa baru yang masih fresh gitu ya, kalau misalnya ada yang mendoktrinisasi bahwa berwirausaha itu akan rugi, bagaimana mereka tahu? Mereka bukan tangan kanan Tuhan. Mereka bukan seorang yang sudah punya penerawangan yang tinggi. Maka dari itu teman-teman coba gitu ya. Ketika teman-teman mencoba, maka teman-teman akan merasakan apakah asin, apakah manis, apakah pahit, dan lain sebagainya. Gitu ya. Dalam berwirausaha, saya menerapkan prinsip bisnis. Apa itu Kang Sandi bisnis? Teman-teman sudah bisa baca. Yang pasti yang paling atas saya tempatkan adalah berbasis ilmu. Yang teman-teman sedang saat ini terapkan, yang teman-teman saat ini sedang berjuang gitu ya, menerima amanah dari Tuhan gitu ya untuk belajar, harus bersyukur karena yang lain ingin masuk Brawijaya susah gitu ya. Nah, ini harus dimanfaatkan basis ilmu. Karena berbasis ilmu yang saya rasakan teman-teman semua gitu ya, mampu mengakselerasi usaha jauh lebih cepat dibanding yang mengandalkan empiris. Kang Sandi, tapi ada Bob Sadino yang tidak belajar atau lulusannya SD tapi dia mampu membangun kerajaan Kemciknya. Kang Sandi, ada kok Mark Zuckerberg yang membangun media sosial yang dia ternyata mampu untuk mengakuisisi seluruh media sosial, dan dia di DO dari Harvard. Kang Sandi. Nah, itu yang banyak anak muda ini berpikir tidak apple to apple. Betul, memang mereka bisa mencapai apa yang mereka inginkan, tetapi effort atau dorongan mereka untuk mendapatkan itu sangat sulit sekali teman-teman semua. Dibanding teman-teman yang memang saat ini sedang mengenyam pendidikan tinggi. Karena di dalam pendidikan tinggi teman-teman akan belajar bagaimana berinovasi, bagaimana berkreasi, bagaimana membuat suatu bisnis model kanvas misalnya. Atau teman-teman belajar bisnis ocean strategy. Bagaimana teman-teman belajar bisnis ocean shifting gitu ya, apalagi di bidang agribisnis gitu ya. Nah, inilah yang teman-teman saya rasakan gitu ya, begitu semester 5 memutuskan, lalu semester 5 juga saya mulai belajar gitu ya, kegagalannya di mana, berjuang bersama-sama gitu ya. Dan alhamdulillah itu yang mengakselerasi di tahun kelima. Tidak pernah terbayang saya di umur 28 tahun ini bisa alhamdulillah saat ini teman-teman semua mendampingi Kementerian Pertanian dari sisi petani milenial gitu ya. Beberapa kunjungan, banyak tuh anak-anak milenial yang saat ini mereka cukup tertarik dan menarik gitu ya. Nah ini yang sekali lagi teman-teman, basis ilmu harus kita simpan dalam konteks paling atas gitu ya, karena ini paling penting. Jadi hilangkan kalimat bahwa Kang Sandi cukup SD saja, karena itu ada tuh di kampung saya yang sukses betul, tapi dia tidak bisa atau tidak akan bisa menyesuaikan gitu ya. Apalagi tengah pandemi COVID-19 saat ini teman-teman semua, kita butuh selalu strategi emergency exit gitu ya, untuk melakukan suatu emergency exit. Tentu itu butuh ilmu-ilmu yang memang mendasar gitu ya. Oh, kalau di pandemi COVID-19 ini kita harus pendekatan digitalisasi basisnya ICT dan lain sebagainya. Itu yang memang konteks dari berbasis ilmu. Yang kedua jelas inovatif, yang ketiga strategi, empat niat yang kuat, informasi dan teknologi, dan yang terakhir supel. Bicara masalah supel teman-teman semua, saya ingin menyampaikan 3 hal. Jadi teman-teman ini ada yang mungkin nantinya berwirausaha atas dasar necessity entrepreneur, bisnis dengan keterpaksaan. Contohnya misal, mohon maaf ya, ada yang di DO karena tidak punya IPK, lalu juga mau kerja susah gitu ya. Kalau nggak kerja tuntutan istri dan lain sebagainya, itu artinya bisnis dengan keterpaksaan. Yang kedua, replicative entrepreneur. Itu yang mereplikasi teman-teman. Kalau di Jakarta gitu ya, kalau di Malang mungkin ada tuh pisang coklat meler, lalu ada kebab, lalu ada apa tuh capcin, lalu ada apa lagi itu yang dia memang menduplikasi. Tapi itu eranya runtuh itu sangat cepat sekali. Dan yang terakhir adalah innovative entrepreneur. Di sinilah yang saya harapkan teman-teman semua yang berada di Brawijaya gitu ya bisa menerapkan dari seluruh ilmu-ilmu yang teman-teman dapatkan, digabungkan dengan empiris yang nanti teman-teman dapatkan gitu ya. Maka itu akan menjadi innovative entrepreneur. Inilah yang tentu sekali lagi teman-teman semua, banyak pertanyaan di antara teman-teman gitu, kenapa Kang Sandi jadi petani? IPB membuat saya untuk melek data gitu ya. Teman-teman juga saya rasa saat ini dihadirkan data di mana dari seluruh sektor gitu, ternyata perdagangan hotel dan restoran mengalami pertumbuhan yang sangat tinggi. Laju pertumbuhannya itu nomor 2 dibanding pengangkutan dan komunikasi. Nah, apalagi bicara pandemi COVID-19 ini, seluruh sektor terkontraksi, hanya pertanian yang itu masih bertahan. Jenisnya pertanian apa saja? Nah, nanti akan saya share teman-teman semua. Awal mula wirausaha, alhamdulillah teman-teman semua, kalau misalnya teman-teman saat ini bicara sosok Sandi Oktasusila, maka teman-teman tidak akan dapatkan di 5 tahun ke belakang, ya, di mana awal mula wirausaha yang saya kembangkan, pertama itu begitu semester 5 saya mulai itu. Saya putuskan, saya untuk berwirausaha, ada libur panjang, kalau teman-teman saat ini libur sangat panjang ya, bahkan nggak sekolah WFH, from home ya. Nggak, jadi saya begitu libur di IPB, saya pulang ke kampung halaman, lalu saya ikut ke kebun, lalu saya banyak teman-teman melihat komoditas-komoditas yang petani hasilkan lalu simpan di pinggir jalan. Mereka menunggu, mohon maaf, oknum-oknum yang atau memang tidak semua oknum sebetulnya ya, ada mungkin pengepul dan lain sebagainya yang mau mengambil. Saya tanya tuh, Pak, harga tomat berapa, harga wortel berapa, harga kentang berapa, rata-rata itu sedikit. Rata-rata itu mereka, Kang Sandi murah dan lain sebagainya. Tanpa saya jamin ke mereka, tanpa saya bilang bahwa saya adalah agent of change, untuk pertanian saya tidak pernah menjanjikan seperti itu. Tapi teman-teman semua, saya saya foto produknya, lalu setelah difoto saya share di media darling, lalu saya berikan knowledge produk. Ini produk namanya X, penghasilannya X, panennya sekian, proyeksinya kapan, harganya berapa, seperti itu tuh teman-teman semua. Di Korea, saya kunjungan teman-teman semua, ketika kita ambil HP, gitu ya, begitu HP ambil lalu kita fotokan, gitu ya, di dalam produk tersebut, mereka itu terlacak produknya, dihasilkan di mana, sampai ke petaninya siapa. Dalam konteks agronomi namanya itu traceability, keterlacakan, gitu ya. Nah, traceability inilah yang memang dipentingkan saat ini. Orang-orang tidak hanya bicara harga, tapi orang-orang bicara apakah ini aman atau tidak. Diproduksinya di mana sih? Kandungannya apa saja sih? Nah, itu sudah mulai melek tuh mereka. Nah, saya itu post di media darling dan alhamdulillah adalah salah satu fast food yang share, yang menarik gitu ya, salah satu fast food yang itu memanggil gitu ya, dan kita kontrak. Alhamdulillah Dulu teman-teman semua tidak besar lah ya, sekarang juga tidak besar ya, insya Allah. Nah, jadi dulu itu omsetnya cuma 3 juta, 5 juta, keuntungan 300.000. Tapi pada masa mahasiswa itu sangat menarik sekali gitu ya. Lalu saya bicara, kok ini kayaknya bonafit ya, kayaknya saya kembangkan. Begitu saya kembangkan teman-teman, yang saya pada masa itu memiliki prinsip ketika kita menginginkan ikan yang besar, maka kita harus memberikan umpan yang besar. Korelasinya harus positif. Tetapi teman-teman ternyata pas begitu saya ada PU, kurang lebih 130 juta gitu ya, modalnya dengan hitungan 190 juta yang keluar. Disinilah ego saya keluar, disinilah sok-sokan saya sebagai mahasiswa dengan pendidikan yang tinggi keluar gitu ya. Saya menghitung bahwa 190 juta dikurangi 130 juta, maka kita akan memiliki gross margin sekitar 60 juta. Membayangkan 14 hari term of payment 60 juta gitu ya. Itu siapa yang akan menggaji? Di sana teman-teman menggebu-gebu. Akhirnya saya usahakan, pokoknya saya harus kirim ini, pokoknya harus cari dana ini dan sebagainya. Ternyata teman-teman alhamdulillah pas begitu 14 hari kemudian saya telepon, saya hubungi, tidak bisa. Akhirnya saya terkena penipuan tingkat tinggi. Dari sanalah teman-teman saya balik ke kampung halaman gitu ya di Cianjur. Setelah itu saya masuk kamar dan alhamdulillah tidak bisa mungkin berkomunikasi dengan orang-orang hampir 3 bulan lah. Itu cukup lama sekali gitu ya. Saya tidak mau berkomunikasi dengan orang-orang karena kenapa? Karena ada kekhawatiran bahwa orang-orang menanyakan kegagalan tersebut. Ada 3 orang yang teman-teman semua mengingatkan dan memberikan semangat gitu ya. Di antaranya ada almarhum ayah saya, ada ibu saya, dan ada teman saya. Teman-teman semua, saya ingat betul bahwa almarhum ayah saya bilang ke saya seperti ini, San atau Nak gitu ya, pada masa itu, Allah itu tidak akan memberikan suatu masalah di luar dari kapasitas umatnya. Jadi yang teman-teman saat ini terkena masalah, yang teman-teman saat ini terkena sesuatu yang memang dianggap oleh teman-teman berat untuk menyelesaikan, teman-teman patut berbangga. Kenapa? Karena tidak semua orang diberikan ujian. Allah itu akan memberikan ujian ke orang-orang yang memang tepat bisa menyelesaikan. Begitu almarhum ayah saya bilang seperti itu teman-teman semua, maka saya bangun dari kegagalan itu. Oh iya ya, saya yakin betul bahwa di umur saya waktu tertipu itu 22 tahun teman-teman semua. Gitu ya. Jadi saya yakin betul bahwa ketika orang-orang sedang berada di dalam zona nyaman, comfort zone gitu ya, kita malah sudah diuji duluan gitu ya. Dan ketika teman-teman lihat mungkin di seumuran saya 28 tahun gitu ya, ada yang mungkin belum mencapai apa yang mereka inginkan, saya sudah mencapai apa yang saya inginkan. Itu berkat dari saya menyelesaikan apa yang Allah berikan ujian. Dan inilah yang mungkin teman-teman alhamdulillah titik balik kegagalan itu saya bangun dengan semangat gitu ya, walaupun lesu, lunglai dan lain sebagainya teman-teman semua. Saya berjalan pada masa itu, saya ingat betul teman-teman tadi ada acara ya, saya sebutkan di awal, Festival Bunga dan Buah Nusantara. Nah itu saya kenal betul dengan namanya Om Rio, lalu saya tanya, Om Rio, saya boleh nggak masuk ke hotel ini untuk supply sayuran? Oh ada Sandi supplier, tapi kalau mau Sandi silahkan isi saja. Akhirnya saya datang, saya proposal bisnis saya serahkan, saya presentasi, saya jamin produknya, pelayanannya saya tingkatkan, lagi-lagi ilmu komunikasi di sana masuk. Karena ciri pasar yang akan menerima kerjasama di antara kita adalah, pertama, apakah dia memahami knowledge produk atau tidak. Dalam hal penyampaian, dia apakah punya ilmunya atau tidak. Karena ada masa momentum saya ditanya seperti ini, Mas Andi, saya selalu pesan ke supplier saya, timun, tapi kok yang datanya kadang hijau, kadang putih. Bayangkan teman-teman, itu pertanyaan yang kalau dalam konteks agronomi, bukan agronomi, itu mungkin kenapa ya? Tapi kalau di agronomi, oh itu berbeda varietas. Gitu ya. Varietas bandana itu akan lebih hijau dibanding varietas wulan misalnya. Nah, itu kan ilmu tuh ya keluar. Akhirnya apa? Akhirnya klien itu percaya bahwa oh ya ini orangnya berarti udah paham betul ya. Jadi saya aman ya kalau mau yang putih berarti dia akan menyesuaikan. Di sanalah titik komunikasi masuk. Ya. Nah, pada masa itu alhamdulillah saya jebol, saya kirim ke Hotel IPB International Convention Center ICC. Lalu teman-teman semua singkat cerita beberapa bulan di Agustus saya ingat betul saya dipanggil oleh IPB. Sandi, akan ada pekan ilmiah nasional yang tuan rumahnya IPB. Kira-kira Sandi bisa support nggak produknya? Bisa Pak, insya Allah. Nah Sandi tahu jalannya? Tidak tahu teman-teman. Tahu langkahnya apalagi. Tetapi prinsip yang sekarang keluar adalah bagaimana kita tahu lubang di depan kalaulah kita tidak melangkah. Bagaimana teman-teman tahu saya akan gagal kalaulah teman-teman tidak merasakan atau mengalami. Pada masa itu saya alhamdulillah dipercaya untuk support 15.000 paket gitu ya. Kamis, Jumat, Sabtu, Minggu acaranya. Kamis, Jumat, Sabtu, Minggu itu teman-teman semua gitu ya, selama 4 hari gitu ya. Modalnya itu 130 juta. Damn, it's the same before I take again. Itu sesuatu yang sama sebelum saya ambil pilihan kembali gitu ya. Saya kan gagal 130 juta sama waduh saya bilang. Tapi saya percaya betul bahwa insya Allah branding IPB tidak akan main-main gitu ya. Saya kirim teman-teman semua produknya Kamis, Jumat, Sabtu, Minggu 4 hari. Setelah itu saya hitung-hitung, saya diganjar dengan modal 130 juta menjadi 300 juta rupiah. Jadi nothing that impossible. Tidak ada yang tidak mungkin teman-teman semua. Ketika teman-teman mampu melangkah dengan apa yang teman-teman miliki, teman-teman mampu berusaha, gitu ya, berwirausaha dan berusaha semaksimal mungkin. Maka sekali lagi bahwa hasil tidak akan pernah mengkhianati proses. Inilah gambaran ilustrasi yang pada masa itu saya jalankan. Belum punya saya dulu itu mobil teman-teman semua. Belum punya masa itu saya karyawan. Belum punya masa itu saya packing house yang besar. Tapi saya pakai motor gitu ya. Nah ini 3 orang yang pernah membangunkan dan bukan pernah sampai hari ini selalu mengawal saya, selalu mendoakan saya, selalu menyemangati saya gitu ya. Di antaranya almarhum saya yakin betul. Yang kedua adalah ibu saya. Dan yang ketiga adalah mantan yang sudah jadi istri saya. Jadi teman saya yang selalu menemani pada masa kuliah adalah seorang mantan yang sudah saya bina. Yang alhamdulillah teman-teman semua saya berjuang dari awal dengan Mbak Ratu. Gitu ya. Nah Mbak Ratu inilah yang terus teman-teman menemani hingga saat ini alhamdulillah. Dan saya percaya betul sekali lagi bahwa hasil tidak akan pernah mengkhianati proses. Tapi mohon maaf teman-teman, ya, ini bukan Mbak Ratu ya, ini orang lain ini. Tapi seperti ini, 100% saya jalani seperti ini, gitu ya. Yang alhamdulillah mungkin teman-teman saat ini lihat berbeda, ya ada perubahan. Tetapi di masa itu, Mbak Ratu menghilangkan urat malu saya ketika saya ingin sukses, ketika saya ingin belajar untuk jauh lebih depan, gitu ya, jauh lebih ke depan, gitu ya, dibanding teman-teman yang lain. Nah, teman-teman semua, jadi mohon maaf, oke. Jadi kalau bicara untuk produk setelah berkembang, alhamdulillah saya mengelola sekitar 141 jenis produk gitu ya, yang saat ini memang kita support ke modern market, di mana produk-produk tersebut saat ini ada di sayuran, lalu kita juga kirim ke 25 klien terutama di Bogor gitu ya, lalu juga kita kirim ke retail, diantaranya ada Alfamidi, ada Giant gitu ya, yang paling sering Alfamidi lah gitu ya. Nah ini ekspansi produk teman-teman semua. Kita tidak hanya di sayuran saat ini, tetapi kita bicara ada di buah-buahan, ada di ayam, lalu juga ada di groceries atau dry good gitu ya. Ini adalah pasca panen yang kita kendalikan, sangat sederhana sekali. Pesan yang ingin saya sampaikan dalam slide ini adalah teman-teman jangan berbicara masalah naik Fortuner kalaulah kita masih berada di dalam level naik angkutan umum. Jadi teman-teman semua ukur diri teman-teman semua ketika bicara dengan petani, layaknya teman-teman seperti petani lah. Bahasa-bahasa yang sederhana, bahasa-bahasa yang mudah dimengerti. Karena apa? 4 tahapan ini teman-teman semua mampu membawa Mitra Tani Parahyangan hingga saat ini bertransformasi menjadi PT Sinergi Tani Indonesia itu oleh mereka yang bisa menerjemahkan 4 tahapan ini. Oh, jadi Kang Sandi produknya hanya sortasi dan grading, dibersihkan, disimpan, didistribusi. Ya, tapi 4 langkah sederhana inilah yang membawa perusahaan ini hingga bertahan di 5 tahun. Jadi ketika teman-teman turun, jangan teman-teman bicara kepada para petani yang mohon maaf saat ini sebagian besar berada dalam zona kolonial gitu ya. Kita bicara masalah artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data. Lalu apa lagi? Misalnya ada revolusi industri 4.0, mereka tidak akan paham. Tapi ketika kita bicara masalah milenial to milenial gitu ya, ketika kita berhadapan seperti ini antara yang muda dengan yang muda gitu ya, Pak Agus juga masih muda kok dosen kita gitu ya. Nah ini teman-teman semua, ketika bicara kita di dalam tatanan yang setara gitu ya, barulah kita bicara masalah perkembangan revolusi industri 4.0, artificial intelligence, big data dan lain sebagainya. Gitu ya. Dan inilah yang saya sampaikan ke mereka dan alhamdulillah mereka mampu untuk menerjemahkan lalu mengirimkan produk apa yang saya inginkan. Ini adalah kebun saya, teman-teman semua dari Brawijaya, sudilah mampir kalau datang ke Cianjur gitu ya, kita kelola sekitar 8 hektar, lalu juga ada milik HGU PT PN 8 yang diamanahkan kepada kita 94 hektar, lalu juga ada tuan tanah yang memberikan ke kita sekitar 12 hektar, teman-teman semua. Dan kita juga alhamdulillah teman-teman semua sudah menerapkan sedikit terkait revolusi industri 4.0, pendekatan basis big data dan artificial intelligence, di mana untuk di kebun kita bekerja sama dengan Telkom Indonesia di aplikasi Agri. Jadi saya begitu datang saat ini gitu ya, tidak usah datang ke kebun, tetapi data sudah tersampaikan atau sudah terdeliver ke saya melalui dashboard website gitu ya. Jadi saya buka website, akunnya saya masukkan gitu ya, ada field assistant di lapangan, barulah data-data itu muncul. Mulai dari hari ini kegiatannya apa saja, ngapain saja, produknya apa, pestisidanya jenis apa, kontak atau sistemik, dan lain sebagainya. Kita sudah menggunakan big data seperti itu. Semoga saya nanti bisa memperlihatkan ya kepada teman-teman semua. Selain dari itu juga alhamdulillah kita dari sisi mekanisasi gitu ya, dari sisi drone, kita alhamdulillah juga sering menerapkan gitu ya. Saat ini, kemarin beberapa bulan yang lalu kita penjajakan dengan drone untuk aplikasi pestisida. Ini kelembagaan yang saya jalankan, teman-teman semua. Ketika bicara profit oriented, maka ini 2 lembaga yang saya pimpin. Ini adalah lembaga pertama, Usaha Dagang Mitra Tani Parahyangan, ini kendaraan paling pertama. Lalu begitu berkembang, alhamdulillah sebelum dari PT Sinergi saya lanjut karena banyak orang yang ingin belajar, banyak orang yang ingin kunjungan studi, bukan belajar ya, kunjungan studi. Saya tidak mau belajar ya, tapi ingin sharing bersama-sama. Ada yang ingin yang berkunjungan studi, ada yang ingin yang mengambil agrowisata dan sebagainya. Maka kita luncurkan pusat pelatihan pertanian dan pedesaan swadaya. Lalu kelompoknya Kang Sandi di mana para petani diamnya? Di lembaga kelompok tani Mitra Tani Parahyangan. Disinilah berkumpul 385 petani. Lalu juga ada PT Sinergi Tani Indonesia, ini adalah perusahaan baru, transformasi khusus untuk target kita perusahaan-perusahaan besar, lalu juga termasuk Telkom Indonesia, kita dengan PT Sinergi kerjasamanya, lalu juga ada kedai sayur, lalu juga ada ekspor, dan lain sebagainya. Itu di PT. Nah, ini adalah salah satu pengalaman yang diamanahkan oleh Pak Bupati Kabupaten Cianjur. Saya sempat memimpin menjadi Direktur Utama Subterminal Agribisnis, yang tentu teman-teman semua ini saat ini diteruskan oleh Duta Petani Milenial, dan ini hanya video saja, saya rasa karena waktu teman-teman semua, izinkan semoga saya 10 menit selesai karena harus berangkat lagi. Halo
Mas Andi,
jam kerja. Ya, Pak Agus.
Mungkin sebelum ke video, waktu kita tinggal 15 menit bersama Mas Andi.
Siap.
Mungkin kita buka sesi tanya jawab Mas Andi ya, karena kita nanti insya Allah masih punya 2 sesi untuk pekan depan dan pekan berikutnya. Begitu Mas Andi?
Ya. Pak Agus, makasih banyak, dan kebetulan memang saya harus segera berangkat gitu ya. Siap. Ini hanya sedikit saja. Jadi teman-teman semua, pentingnya ini pentingnya program kerja gitu ya, di mana ini menjadi kompas bagi teman-teman semua, yang mana akan menjadi arah teman-teman ini usahanya akan dibawa kemana sih nantinya gitu ya. Lalu tadi itu ilmu komunikasi ini mampu diterapkan dari sisi apanya sih gitu ya. Nah, ini yang tentu setiap tahun saya selalu mengeluarkan program kerja gitu ya, yang ditranslate, yang diterjemahkan kepada 50 staf yang berada di lapangan. Nah, teman-teman semua, kebetulan karena waktunya yang tidak memungkinkan, tadi juga kita mending akan membuka sesi tanya jawab gitu ya. Materi-materi selanjutnya saya rasa nanti kita akan teruskan. Yang pasti adalah ini kegiatan-kegiatan saya yang sekarang, teman-teman semua, yang mana alhamdulillah saya rasa teman-teman semua dengan senang hati sekali lagi kalau ingin berkunjung, berdiskusi dan lain sebagainya gitu, itu boleh gitu ya. Nah, kita aktivitas-aktivitas yang saat ini ke kebun, saya ke kebun keluar sekarang, nah ini pelatihan-pelatihan, ini ke Banten, ini kunjungan 34 provinsi. Ini juga kita berkolaborasi dengan Wakil Panglima TNI. Ini adalah petani-petani kita. Ya, dan ini adalah bonus-bonus saja teman-teman semua. Silahkan dengan senang hati bisa mengeksplor gitu ya. Alhamdulillah di tahun ini tadi sudah disebutkan oleh Pak Agus, ini adalah penghargaan untuk teman-teman semua. Ya, jadi bukan untuk saya. Ini penghargaan untuk teman-teman semua gitu ya. Nah, teman-teman semua, sebagai kalimat penutup di sesi tanya jawab ini, jadi ada 3 hal sebelum kita membuka tanya jawab dan langsung ditutup oleh Pak Agus, di mana yang pertama, bisnis pertanian tidak akan ada pernah matinya. Akan mati manakala manusia mengalami kepunahan. Jelas teman-teman semua bahwa bisnis pertanian adalah bisnis yang sektornya itu sangat bonafit gitu ya. Teman-teman saat ini masih membutuhkan bahan pokok. Teman-teman saat ini saya percaya betul tidak bisa makan batu, tidak bisa makan pasir, dan lain sebagainya. Lalu yang kedua, banyak orang yang bertanya bahwa Kang Sandi atau Kang Hendra atau para duta petani milenial gitu ya, kok mau ya, kok bangga ya di sektor pertanian gitu ya. Bukan bangga teman-teman, tetapi kita turun di sektor pertanian semata-mata ingin menjadi bagian perubahan paradigma terhadap seorang petani. Teman-teman semua tahu bahwa petani itu kumuh, kucel, tidak bonafit, dan lain sebagainya. Sekarang hadir petani yang itu ganteng gitu ya, petani yang itu keren, petani yang itu teman-teman bisa melihat dengan sendiri bahwa ini adalah sektor yang sangat bonafit. Apalagi teman-teman, ini yang paling terakhir, apalagi Indonesia di tahun 2045 sedang bermimpi akan menjadi Indonesia lumbung pangan dunia. Pak Menteri selalu bilang, Pak Dirjen selalu dalam forum-forum bilang bahwa kita harus menjadi Indonesia lumbung pangan dunia di 2045. Dan kita akan mengalami bonus demografi di tahun tersebut. Artinya teman-teman semua ini akan produktif dan akan banyak di tahun tersebut. Maka dari itu, ketika teman-teman melangkah dengan benar, maka teman-teman akan mencapai dan membantu Indonesia menjadi lumbung pangan dunia. Tetapi teman-teman ketika salah melangkah, maka mimpi Indonesia akan hilang dengan salahnya langkah teman-teman. Maka dari itu mari kita bersinergi, mari kita bersama-sama untuk membangun Ibu Pertiwi. Itu saja dari saya, terima kasih banyak Pak Agus, terima kasih banyak teman-teman semua. Mohon doa, semoga sehat-sehat. Pak Agus juga sehat-sehat. Ini Mas Wah sehat-sehat. Saya tutup. Billahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Mas Andi. Mungkin ini masih ada sekitar 10 menit. Kami persilahkan jika ada 1 atau 2 pertanyaan dari peserta terkait dengan materi yang disampaikan oleh Mas Andi. Silahkan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke, siapa dulu ini? Adila ya?
Ya, silakan. 50 ini, 50 pertanyaan ya.
Silahkan langsung to the point pertanyaannya.
Iya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Adila Jongstari dari Bogor. Pertanyaan saya, apa langkah awal membangun suatu bisnis pertanian untuk seorang pemula yang tidak mempunyai lahan yang luas? Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak. Pak Agus mau dijawab langsung atau kita sesi ini?
Langsung saja, Mas Andi. Singkat saja.
Karena ini dari UK ya, mau mengisi ya, dari Amerika. Sudah siap.
Yeah.
Baik, Mbak Dila. Jadi, kalau bicara langkah apa yang harus kita kerjakan, apalagi kalau lahannya tidak punya dan sebagainya gitu ya. Kalau saran saya, trader dulu, Mbak Dila. Kalau trader, itu Mbak Dila sudah jelas. Mbak Dila beli sekian, kita jual sekian. Ya beda dengan ketika kita langsung bertani, butuh modal, perhitungan belum pasti dan lain sebagainya. Bukan berarti tidak boleh, boleh. Tetapi saran saya biasanya para investor, tamu-tamu yang selalu tanya, Kang Sandi saya boleh nggak ikut gabung di kebun? Saya sih saya sih boleh. Tetapi itu biasanya berisikonya tinggi dibanding kita trader. Yang trader itu Mbak Adila punya produk, kita sudah tetapkan HPP-nya sekian, kita jual sekian, nggak kejual jangan dulu dilepaskan. Tapi kalau perishable itu berbeda. Sistemnya ada subsidi gitu ya. Yang ini murah tapi yang ininya lebih mahal. Itu di cover gitu ya. Nah itu jadi kembali lagi ketika kita tidak punya resourcing yang besar, malah yang kita punya adalah misalnya hanya jaringan, yang manfaatkan dari sisi trader itu gitu ya. Yang mana ketika trader itu sudah kita pegang, barulah kita nanti teman-teman semua misalnya, oh karena ini permintaannya besar di tomat, barulah berbudidaya karena pasarnya sudah ada, gitu ya. Karena teori bisnis mengatakan, terutama di Maslow, itu uang, bayangkan teman-teman uang gitu ya, 100.000. Ketika teman-teman menggarap di hulu, maka yang dapat hanya 25%. Ketika teman-teman di pasca panen, yang dapat teman-teman 50%. Tapi ketika teman-teman mengolah hingga tahap pasca panen sekunder, ready to eat, gitu ya, di meja itu, maka teman-teman akan dapat uang semuanya. Itulah yang maksud saya teman-teman semua. Saat ini teman-teman bisa bergerak di hulunya, di hilirnya untuk tradernya, ya sudah silakan. Tapi begitu teman-teman sudah pegang, teman-teman sudah punya, baru tuh teman-teman ke hulunya gitu ya, untuk menggarap. Seperti itu kira-kira Mbak Adila Ajeng Lestari. Salam ya, nanti di Bogor ketemu kalau ini ya. Orang Malang.
Pertanyaan dari saudara Helmi, silakan Helmi.
Ya, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Izin bertanya, begini Mas, saya itu penasaran dalam bisnis terutama di bidang pertanian, seberapa penting penerapan ilmu komunikasi, karena kita nanti kan akan berhubungan dengan orang-orang yang juga ingin mencari profit. Ya, sekian Kak, terima kasih.
Sama-sama, makasih banyak Mas Helmi. Bicara masalah seberapa besar ilmu komunikasi, ketika ilmu komunikasi itu kita tidak punya, kita tidak bisa komunikasi, gitu ya. Yang paling pasti adalah itu hal mendasar, teman-teman semua. Ciri dari orang yang berpendidikan sudah pasti itu komunikasinya baik. Mampu membedakan mana kita berhadapan dengan seorang direktur utama, mampu membedakan di mana kita berhadapan dengan seorang sales manager, dan lain sebagainya. Kita sudah melihat, itu dari sisi aspek komunikasi. Kalau dia banyak berkutat di aspek teknis, saya bisa sudah menilai bahwa ini orangnya bukan orang yang levelnya itu penting. Tapi kita bicara masalah pionir, orangnya begitu berhadapan dengan kita, ini kita akan coba di tahun 2015 ini kita salesnya ini harus sekian dan sebagainya. Ini berarti orang penting. Jadi ilmu komunikasi itu mampu menilai, gitu Mas. Terutama kita, Mas mungkin bisa lihat gitu ya. Cara saya berbicara, cara juga saya menyampaikan informasi, gitu. Mungkin gitu ya. Mungkin teman-teman sudah menilai bahwa ini orang yang memang misalnya gitu ya, punya ilmu memang di bisnisnya. Tapi beda cerita ketika yang levelnya empiris, pengalaman hanya di lapangan. Gitu ya, Mas Helmi tidak belajar, lalu ilmu komunikasi juga bagaimana cara membawa supaya, karena kalau bicara bisnis, Mas, tidak hanya kita transaksional. Transaksi antara uang dengan uang saya tidak ada. Tetapi kita lebih pada itu, kita mengajak mereka, menyentuh hati mereka, lalu touching gitu ya. Itu karena apa? Karena supaya kita lebih dekat. Dan bisnis itu, transaksi itu akan menjadi nomor sekian ketika memang kita sudah sangat dekat. Dekatnya dengan apa? Komunikasi yang tadi. Gitu. Itu ya, jadi sangat penting, sangat mendasar kalau di komunikasi, Mas Helmi. Gitu ya.
Ya,
Jadi
terima kasih,
tingkatkan dia ilmu komunikasinya ya.
Ya.
Oke, ada lagi pertanyaan? Masih ada waktu sekitar 5 menit.
Izin bertanya.
Jadi sebagai info Mas Andi, ini silahkan langsung. Ya.
Silakan.
Bagaimana cara kita mencari konsumen kita dalam berbisnis?
Terima kasih banyak Mbak Dinda, saya lupa. Ini adalah bumbu dapurnya yang saya share. Saya lupa, mohon maaf gitu ya. Ketika teman-teman ingin bisnis di Horeca, hotel, restoran, dan catering, maka yang harus teman-teman dekati adalah eksekutif chef. Ya, teman-teman enggak Kang, saya kalau eksekutif chef sudah lebih kenal dengan ownernya. Nggak ada. Owner itu tidak memegang decision maker. Usernya itu adalah decision makernya adalah eksekutif chef, gitu ya. Ketika teman-teman itu ingin menggarap retail, Alfamidi dan lain sebagainya, itu buyer, gitu ya. Yang harus teman-teman apa? Pangan ya udah bayar di bidang beras, pangan dan sebagainya. Di sayuran ya bayar fresh vegetable, di impor ya bayar produk impor. Ya, nah itu. Kalau misalnya untuk ternyata rumah tangga ya, itu langsung ke rumah tangga ya, Mbak Dinda ya. Tapi kalau misalnya di Horeca, eksekutif chef yang harus teman-teman pegang, karena mereka yang punya kunci, gitu ya. Dan kalau teman-teman sudah dekat dengan eksekutif chef, misalnya Mas Helmi mau masuk di hotel saya, itu biasanya eksekutif chefnya itu bocor tuh. Nih Kang Sandi nih yang mau masuk nih temennya Kang Sandi, saya persilahkan saja. Tapi rata-rata mereka tidak mau. Karena apa? Kembali lagi, secara emosional kita sudah terikat. Itu ya. Mbak Dinda ya.
Ya, makasih ya.
Sama-sama Mbak Dinda. Ini
Saya kira sangat bagus sekali Mas Andi materi yang disampaikan hari ini. Banyak sekali pelajaran yang mungkin bisa kita ambil. Salah satunya tadi itu ada pepatah kuno, tapi ini sangat bagus. Hasil tidak akan mengkhianati proses gitu. Kalau saya balik mungkin ikhtiar tidak akan mengkhianati hasil. Jadi bagaimana kita ke depan insya Allah tergantung dari apa yang kita perbuat sekarang ini. Baik, tepat sekitar 60 menit kita sudah bersama Mas Sandi Oktasusila. Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Mas Sandi atas kuliah yang disampaikan. Insya Allah kita akan bertemu hari Rabu pekan depan Mas Sandi ya.
Insya Allah. Saya sudah di Jabar ini, tidak ke Kalimantan ini.
Sesi yang kedua nanti Insya Allah kita akan bertemu lagi. Baik, kami akhiri sesi pertama bersama Mas Andi, dan kita akan masuk ke dalam sesi kedua bersama Dr. Shanas Ibrahim dari University of Southampton. Silahkan Mas Andi kalau seandainya ingin undur diri. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak teman-teman semua. Pak Agus, Pak dosen, makasih banyak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, I would like to call Dr. Shanas. Dr. Shanas, are you already in this Zoom meeting? Jadi ini mungkin ada sedikit technical problem. Kapasitas kita ini 300, sehingga kalau Dr. Shanas mau jam 1 ini tidak bisa. Mungkin salah satu harus berkorban. Siapa ya ini ya kira-kira? Wait for a second. Oke, sebentar. Ini 297. Oke. Dr. Shanas, are you in this Zoom meeting? Ayo kita cari satu-satu. Ada nggak Dr. Shanas ini? She will be joining with us at 8 AM early morning in the UK, or maybe at 2 PM Indonesian time. Ya. Jadi saudara-saudara sekalian, sambil kita menunggu Dr. Shanas join, ini kayaknya sebentar, akunnya ini sudah full 300 ini. Gimana ya caranya ya? Oke, sebentar, saya cek. I cannot get in as it say the meeting reach maximum 300 people. Okay, wait for a second. I will. Ya. She's trying to get in this meeting room.
I am here.
Oh, are you already here?
Yes.
Okay. How are you, Dr. Shanas?
I'm good. How is everyone? How are you? Thanks so much for the invite. How is everyone today?
Yeah, I'm good actually, and I think all of us are good as well. Dr. Shanas, I just want to quick inform to you, our participant today is about 300 plus participant.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. For that reason, we also broadcast this event on YouTube so everyone can access it free. Okay, I think we can start this event. Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, we present you the international guest lecture known as 3-in-1 program. I'm super excited to have you today. I believe that the distance between us will not become the barrier to learn about communication and business. Today, our speaker will be sharing the interest topic about business communication, the role of corporate social responsibility. Let's welcome Dr. Shanas Ibrahim from University of Southampton. Dr. Shanas, it is so good to have you today, and thank you so much for joining us. You will have about approximately 60 minutes, or maybe 45 to 60 minutes to give a lecture. I think time is yours, Dr. Shanas.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a great pleasure to meet you virtually. Hopefully next time I will get the honor of meeting you in person. I'm very excited to talk to you today about a new or a different perspective for me about business and business communication, which is about corporate social responsibility. I am going, can you see my screen clearly? I'm shared my screen with you. So can you see my screen now?
Yes,
we can.
really clear.
Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you so much. Okay, so I think we can mute our, if everyone can mute the mics so that there is any echo coming to you from the UK, that would be great. And I will continue. Sorry?
Okay, it's go on. Then.
Yes. So it's a topic that is very close to my heart because I did my research on corporate social responsibility, and I got aware of this concept and how it can really impact business communication. So this is the topic I'm going to talk to you about today. My name is Shahnaz Ibrahim. I am a senior teaching fellow in strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So just to introduce myself as well, I am a program leader of MSc Business Strategy and Innovation Management, Entrepreneurship and Management, and Digital Business at the Southampton Business School. My first degree in business administration was from Egypt, where I am originally from. And then I had my MBA in market and business development at George Mason University, Northern Virginia, USA. And then I moved to the UK to do my research on a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is corporate social responsibility, sustainability in SMEs in emerging and developing countries. And my current research is about sustainable and social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility. So it's really about these areas. So in this session, I'm going to talk to you about a new perspective of business communication. Business communication has been described as the way that in which businesses can communicate its values inside the organization and outside the organization. Inside the organization, how the business communicates its values and communicates information between managers and between its employees within the culture of the organization. But at the same time, there is another element of business communication, which is the external communication, how it portrays itself and how it communicates these values to external stakeholders. And my view is going to be focused on the external value today. I'm going to talk to you about how corporate social responsibility can be a tool to communicate the business value and the corporate values and ethics to external stakeholder. I'm going to talk about the concept of corporate social responsibility, what it is, and why do businesses nowadays are all trying to engage in corporate social responsibility. There are push factors, there are pull factors. We're going to explore these together. I'm going to introduce to you a critical perspective to corporate social responsibility. Is it enough to be socially responsible business? In what way? That's why I'm going to take that concept a little bit further by talking about the concept of shared value creation and the mindset of shared value creation, and how companies all around the world, large corporations, Fortune 500 companies are actually today integrating the concept of shared value creation in their business strategy. I'm going to talk about how can we examine how can corporate social responsibility communication be a tool for the business competitive advantage. So it's not only about doing good, but also it can be something that can has a positive impact on the business. Finally, I'm going to identify some success stories, some case studies, some examples of how businesses incorporated these concepts in their strategy, in their business values, and integrated this within the organization throughout the supply chain and was successful and competitive due to that. So this is the session, and this is the few topics that I'm going to talk about. I hope the time can give me the liberty to talk about all these issues at within the time limitation that we have. So what is corporate social responsibility and why it is? It's a concept that it was initiated because everyone saw that there was too much power of companies nowadays, but too little responsibility. So companies are getting greedy. Companies are getting larger. Companies are expanding everywhere. So much power is that they are getting, but at the same time, the more power they have, the little responsibility again they assume towards the society. And because of the different scandals that we heard about in different companies, and of course everyone heard about all these scandals where companies are violating human rights, violating labor rights, evading taxes all over the world. So this really alarmed the public, alarmed everyone about the role of the business in the society. Do they really need to just continue enlarging their profits like that? Or do they really stop and reflect and take some responsibility of their actions and for their irresponsible actions and behaviors? So this is where the concept of corporate social responsibility really came onto surge. A classic definition of corporate social responsibility, according to the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, they define corporate social responsibility as the commitment by organizations to behave ethically and to contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as the local community and societies at large. So it's not really only internal responsibility that they have also external responsibility. All the stakeholders that are impacted or impact the business have duties. The company has a duty of care towards these stakeholders. There are different principles of CSR. It's really companies need to take care of the stakeholders well. So of course it has to be profitable. Of course it has to take care of the shareholders who actually have a share and have a duty because managers acts as stewards for the business. But also they have to engage with internal and external stakeholders. They have to treat the stakeholders ethically. They have to create high standards of living to people who are working and people who are around them. So a company cannot just simply operate in a specific community or a specific country and then violates all the rights of the community, whether it's polluting the environment, whether it is using the labor in an unethical way, and so on. It has duty to protect the society and the environment. It also has a duty to have a philanthropic contribution to this society, because within this society, these are the people who are working with them. These are the people who are buying from them. So these are the people who are actually resulting in the survival and in the success and the growth of this business. So they have a philanthropic responsibilities towards them. So these are the basic CSR principles that we have. If you look at academically, what does CSR mean? A very famous and a very classic definition and conceptualization of CSR is Carroll's four-part definitions of CSR, which states that the social responsibility of business encompass the economic, the legal, the ethical, and the discretionary expectations that society has for the organizations. And Carol visualized this concept or the definition of CSR into this pyramid, where he stated that the economic responsibility is a must, meaning a company has to be profitable before it does anything else. So it has to really creates profit and creates wealth for the shareholders. But at the same time, it has to do that while it is behaving in a legally responsible way. So not abiding by all the laws and regulations and not violating any laws or regulation. At the same time, the company has ethical responsibilities, meaning that they have really to think about what are the norms of the society, what is accepted as right, and what is not accepted as wrong. In addition to that, they have to have a philanthropic responsibility, as I mentioned, to give something back to this society that actually is assuming and is resulting in its survival and its success and growth. And these are different examples. I saw that in Indonesia, for example, you have an Alphamart. In the UK, we have a Tesco. So these are examples of how company can assume its economic responsibility. It has to be profitable. It has to maximize its sales. It has to minimize its costs. So this is a must. Legal dimension is, again, obey the law, whether it is the civil law, whether it is the criminal law. It seems very obvious. It seems very simple. But at the same time, we can see that lots of big corporations, they are evading the laws, they are evading taxes, and they are using different ways and different styles in order to evade that kind of law. And every day we hear about these kinds of scandals that are in the news. The ethical dimension, again, it's about avoiding questionable practices. Do what is right, fair, and just according to the society. Philanthropic dimensions, be a good corporate citizen, engage to this community, be part of it, see what people are actually, what do actually people need? What do actually people need in these communities? I'm going to give many examples of how this is in practice is applied within the social responsible organizations. So scope of CSR, we're talking about human rights, we are talking about environmental sustainability, water and air emission, climate change, poverty, any practices that help in alleviating poverty, creating jobs, creating public revenue, enhancing the skills and technology within communities. There are different, the scope of CSR is really broad, and if we think about it, or if we look about it in a critical way, we need to understand and we need to be aware that each community, each country, each society has different expectations and different needs in terms of CSR. So we cannot apply, for example, what is applied and what's needed in Western societies might not really work in Eastern societies. So we need to be aware and we need to be cognizant to what is actually needed within the society. So why do companies engage in CSR? There are push factors and pull factors. So it's before, like, let's say 20, 30 years ago, it was something nice to have. Now it is actually something that is a must to have for every organization. People are becoming vocal. People are becoming aware of what the role of business in the society is. So push factor, for example, is social pressure. That's why businesses now are really getting stronger and getting more active in communicating these social responsibility activities and practices to the community because of these push factors, because social pressure has emerged, which has sought to change the role of the larger corporations in society. You are not only here to gain profit, you are here also to give something back to us. This is what the society is saying. 70% of people, for example, here in the UK believe that companies and brands should play a role in improving the quality of life and the well-being. They think that not only they need to make profit, but also they have to give something back. Consumers and employees are demanding more social impact from corporations through governance, especially after, for example, the Enron case, which we all heard about, and it really shook the world. Idea is to extend CSR through the supply chain. So it's not only now, even the companies, they're not only responsible for the final product and the way they provide it, or the final service and the way they give it to society, but also they are responsible for socially responsible throughout the supply chain. where they are getting this product from, how they manufacture this product. So all these are things that are now changing the way and the awareness of people and the way we look at businesses. And it puts more and more pressure every day on companies and corporations. Approximately 50% of customers consider even punishing unethical behavior. Before that, it was just a free ride for corporations. But nowadays, companies are, the public are vocal. They really are aware of the rights of the society, the rights of the environment, and they are really considering punishing this. What are the costs of doing something unethical? And they are doing that by, for example, boycotting consumers, changing suppliers, employees, they just simply leave the company, word of mouth marketing, social media. All these things have a huge impact on companies' reputation. Therefore, corporate social responsibility communication or business communication of what they are, what the values are extremely getting important these days. Lots of push factors. Customers or clients are influenced by companies' reputation. So you can have easily a decreased sale because of any unethical behavior. Social performance increasingly influences investors' decision. So even like investors are reluctant to invest in a company that is less and less ethical and less social responsible, because they don't want their names, they don't want their funds to be associated with these such companies. 83% of people, for example, will trust the company more if it is seen as being socially and environmentally responsible. The employment market is another push factor. Is now competitive. We have lots of good calibers. We have lots of talents nowadays in the market. So companies are looking to get the best of the best. And in order to do that, they have to be an ethical and socially responsible company, because they want to attract these good people to them to contribute to their growth and to contribute to their competitive advantage. 68% of people agree that large companies should be actively involved in solving social environmental problems. And many employers and many employers nowadays, also through the surveys, they found that companies or good candidates will be attracted more to a more socially responsible company. The general public and the media is another thing. So lots and lots of push factors. Of course, some companies are not doing social responsibility practices not because they are pushed, but because they actually genuinely believe that they have a role in the society, and they can see that CSR can be used to develop good social impact, because they find it as something that is rewarding and something that they are responsible for. So they are very proactive. They don't wait for a scandal or decrease in sale in order to go and get their practices right. So there are two ways of looking at it, and companies are doing it in two ways: altruistic or utilitarian. Altruistic means that people are doing it as for the pull factors. They actually believe that they have a duty towards the society, where some companies are doing it for utilitarian reasons, to increase the sale, to increase reputation, as I mentioned, and to all these things. And we have different examples of companies that when practices these CSR activities, they really have a huge impact. So they have a utilitarian, and they had like a really interesting results. Walmart packaging reduction, for example, it actually resulted in more than $200 million in initial cost savings in 2009, and we have different examples of that. So companies are doing CSR for different reasons. Some companies are doing it, as I mentioned, altruistically. It is actually part of their core strategy. If you heard about Innocent, is a very famous juice and beverage brand here in the UK. The company, from the very beginning, it integrated sustainability and social responsibility in their supply chain. So this is a classic example of that. From the recyclable bottles, from the natural ingredients and organic ingredients that they have, through the packaging that is environmentally friendly, biodegradable packages, through the way they are producing that decreases the carbon emission, to even the prices that are very competitive. So this is an example of company that is altruistically using CSR. Other companies, they are actually waiting until they have an extra budget, or they have an extra agenda, something in their agenda about CSR, and they do things on and off. So for example, we have a little bit surplus this year. Let's go and build a school in a poor community. Let's do something. So these kinds of actions that are ad hoc is actually not altruistic, and they are utilitarian. They do it for marketing reasons, they do it for propaganda reasons, they do it for different reasons. So we need to be also aware of how the way that the company communicates its CSR activities. And the public now is becoming really, really aware and smart. They can differentiate between the companies who are doing CSR as altruistic or as utilitarian. Another example of companies that are using it as part of their business strategy is also Method, which is the new meaning of clean. So Method is another company. It's a cleaning product. While cleaning products, historically, of course, we know that it contains hazardous chemicals. Methods make safe and effective home and personal cleaning products derived from natural ingredients such as soy, coconut, and palm oils. So it's really shows you the power of doing things from the very beginning in a socially and environmentally responsible manner. At the same time, the company is getting like really high, getting very good reputation and also very competitive prices, because although these ingredients are expensive from the beginning and it could be a little bit costly, but when it is done when it is distributed on a larger scale, it becomes really cheaper and cheaper later. So that's why a new concept called shared value creation was introduced by who they call the father of business, Michael Porter, who is a strategist, who also is a Harvard professor in the business school over there, and he is also a consultant. So he introduced the concept of creating shared value. He said that it actually, the purpose, we need to rethink about the purpose of the corporation. The purpose of the corporation must be refined and redefined as creating shared value. It's not just the profits. This will drive the next wave of innovation and productivity growth in the global economy. So what is the concept of shared value creation? He thought that CSR is even not enough, because as I mentioned, sometimes people or companies practice CSR as ad hoc experiences, as ad hoc practices that doesn't have long-term benefits, that doesn't have long-term impact. So now he said that shared value creation is really about for-profit institutions. They have realized the importance of incorporating the concept of shared value creation into their own operations. And why is that? Their other social problems present both daunting constraints to their operations and huge opportunities for growth. So we can benefit as a business from doing CSR. So let's not think about it as an ad hoc activity. Let's think about it as something that can help the corporation to grow, to be competitive, and to really be part of its ethos and values. So shared value creation concept and mindset, it's about creating economic value in a way that also creates value for the society by addressing its needs and challenges. So it's a win-win situation. It connects the strategy of the business itself with its social goals. So they created this kind of diagram, and they said like, it is shared value creation is something in the middle. It's about creating social value, creating business value at the same time. And looking at the business spectrum, we can see that from the left-hand side, that companies, they range from not-for-profit organizations, NGOs, or social enterprises, or companies who are socially responsible. This is where shared value creation is talking about. It's not only about the traditional corporation on the right-hand side, which just is surviving for profit, or it's not about ad hoc CSR activities. If we have a budget, an extra budget this year, we can practice CSR. If we don't have it, then just forget about it. The first thing to be cut from our agenda. But it is also something that is a company that is built on a socially responsible values and integrates it into their corporation. That's why there is a shift now, or there is a calls for shifts from corporate social responsibility to corporate social to shared value creation. So how can shared value creation be generated then? How can we incorporate it? There are two key ways that companies can create shared value opportunities. A, by reconceiving products and markets. For example, launching products in response to unmet social needs, launching green products. And I'm going to give lots and lots of examples now. Or by redefining the productivity in the value chain, as I will talk about the Patagonia example now, conserving the use of natural resources or conserving the use of energy. Example is Tom Shoes. So Tom Shoes is not just a company that produces shoes. For every shoe, this is a company that was created by someone who started the company on the premise that for every pair of shoes sold, one pair would be donated to a child in need. Because the company founder, he found that in Latin America and in South America, he found that there are lots of poverty over there. And he realized that lots of kids are just going on the streets without shoes because simply they can't afford it. So he thought that why don't he use his mindset, his business mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, to start and to create a business from the very beginning to solve something else. So for whatever shoes you buy, there is another shoes donated in another country that has this kind of poverty. And now they are even expanded the company to go to the spectacles, to eyeglasses. For every eyeglass you buy, there is another one is donated to someone else. So it has donated more than 400,000 shoes, and this figure even like is updating every day. So we're talking about millions now. So fair trade is another example, but is fair trade a fair example of shared value creation? Let's think about it. Let's be a little bit critical in the way we are looking at things. Redistribution approach. This is the fair trade is about redistribution approach versus value creation approach. Shared value is not about sharing the value already created by firms. This is the redistribution approach. The fair value, it's about expanding the total pool of economics and the social value. Fair trade is about the redistribution. So you give the suppliers just the fair price of the same fair price or the same fair fees as someone else in a different part of the world. Fair trade aims to increase the proportion of revenue that goes to poor farmers by paying them higher prices for the same crops. So it's almost about redistributing rather than expanding the overall amount of value created. Fair trade is about a shared value perspective. So if we think about fair trade in a different way, focuses on innovating and improving growing techniques. So instead of just giving farmers a little bit higher than the market price, higher than the market price and higher than the market fees, we are talking about a fair trade approach where it can focus on innovating new and improving growing techniques and technologies and strengthening the local cluster of supporting suppliers and other institutions in order to increase efficiency, farmers' efficiency, yields, product quality, and sustainability. Why don't we go to these communities and just also help them to improve their quality, to improve the way they produce things, to get better yields? So it's about really expanding the value rather than just giving them an extra amount of money. That's the difference between looking at fair trade from a shared value creation perspective or just a redistribution perspective. It's good, it's really good that we are having this fair trade, but can it be even more? Can it be even better? Can it be looked at in a long-term orientation, in a sustainable way? Because the other approach leads to a bigger piece of the revenue and profits that could benefit both farmers and the companies that buy from them. So if we think about it, another example is the cocoa farmers in the Côte d'Ivoire versus the fair trade. So cocoa farmers in the Côte d'Ivoire suggest that while fair trade can increase farmers' income by 10% to 20%, because you give them like a little bit increase in the income, because it's now it has to be adhering to the fair trade regulations. The shared value It's actually with that approach, by helping them to improve their productivity, by helping them to understand new technologies and to understand new ways of production, they can increase 300% in their income through efficiency, yields, product quality, sustainability, and in addition to fair wages. So there is a difference between the two approaches. A classic example of that, a very interesting example, is Divine Chocolate. So it's again a brand of chocolate, organic chocolate that is manufactured also in Africa. So Divine Chocolate is a story of a fair trade company co-owned by the cocoa farmers. So even the shareholders are the farmers themselves. They have a say on how the money will be distributed. They have a say on how the money can contribute to the development of their society. So they have a say. They sit on the board and they say, you know what? Our community needs schools. Our community needs to improve the roads that goes to the schools. Our community needs a hospital to help the farmers to get better. Our community needs us. Whatever the community needs, these are the shareholders. So they have a say. Whatever the community needs, they just, the company, put the revenue back on this. So this is what Divine Chocolate is about. This is what shared value creation is about. It's not only just giving a fair price or a fair value or a fair money or a fair fees to someone. It's actually much, much more broader, much more, much deeper than that. So reasons for momentum in shared value creation, why is that? Again, public support is growing for products and services and businesses that create value for the society and for the business simultaneously. The core principles of corporate of shared value creation have their own legal form in many countries now. So even like it's now being institutionalized. For example, between 2010 and 2013, 20 US states enacted an act which is called Benefit Corporation Legislation, with a deliberate corporate purpose to create a material positive impact on society and the environment. So even the legislations now are supporting these actions, are supporting these approaches, where the fiduciary duties of the management include the successful alignment of those goals. To that extent, the shared value creation concept is being legalized, institutionalized within countries. And this is expanding everywhere. Because also, why the reasons for that? Because of the environmental concerns and threat. Urbanization, resource scarcity, climate change. And in our next session, I'm going to talk more about these things and the planetary boundary and all these kinds of pressures that we are having nowadays. Stakeholders' pressure is another issue. Globally, 55% of consumers will pay extra. They are willing to pay extra for products or services from socially responsible companies. 55% of consumers are more likely to purchase a product that supports a cause. 69% of employees consider the social and environmental track record of a company when deciding where to work, as I mentioned earlier. 34% of employees would accept a pay reduction to work for a socially responsible company. To that extent, it's becoming more and more important. Some other examples. In Bangladesh, Garmin, I'm sure everyone have heard about Garmin Bank and this initiative that was initiated by the Nobel Prize winner, Muhammad Yunus, who introduced microcredits and microfinance in Bangladesh 30 or more years ago. 70% of the population in Bangladesh does not have access to electricity. So Garmin Shakti operates a small loan scheme that enables poor households to buy a solar system. So it's not actually giving charity, it's not giving donations to these communities, but actually they are giving them something more than that. They cost about £135, but villagers usually pay in installments. Solar systems are helping to reduce footprint by replacing pollutant kerosene-fired lanterns and helping to reduce the deforestation. So it's an initiative and it's a product that actually is for profit. Still, you get a profit and you just don't donate it. But at the same time, it helps dramatically in improving the local environment there. Another example, that I will talk about now is linked to the question. So can communicating corporate social responsibility practices or shared value creation practices create business competitive advantage to go back to the win-win situation? Yes, it can. If we think about the nowadays, another example is in the fashion industry. Fashion loved by forests and by the environment. Lots of initiative, lots of momentum, lots of big companies, lots of big brands and names are doing that. An example is the case of Patagonia. So Patagonia is a company that is in Latin America, Argentina in particular, that realized that the way that the wool is produced is really inhumane. It's really affecting the environment, and it's really affecting the animals as well. So it effectively and publicly aligns its business and operating models to capitalize on consumer demand for responsibly made products. So it's a fashion company, it's a clothing company, and here how it operates and what is the business model. They found that the problem was the merino wool. It's a natural material that biodegrades rapidly once disposed of. Ultimately, it's a natural way also to convert grass into a high-performance fiber for clothing. At the same time, intensive farming has a determinant impact on the environment. So it's really important that the merino sheep are raised in a sustainable fashion. Making sure that biodiversity is maintained and minimizing the impact of pesticides and fertilizers, if used, are all important steps in this process. So within the process itself, there are lots of things to consider. There are lots of things to take into consideration. So one global initiative called the Responsible Wool Standards, it sets out to create a voluntary global standards that address the welfare of sheep and the land they graze on. So you can look out for wool certifies to these standards. So people are looking for this. So what Patagonia is doing is they are doing a recycled wool. So they, in order to, one of the ways that Patagonia work to lessen the impact of wool production in their products is to recycle the used wool. So it's just a very smart and very interesting way of thinking about how they produce things. It's a practice, it's dating back to hundreds of years ago and actively diverting waste from the landfill. So it's a practice is there, but the company is integrating it into the strategy, into the production. So it initiated this, Patagonia, it initiated this socially responsible sourced merino wool, as we saw, and to the extent that they also communicated that to the customers, to the extent that even they placed itself into a virtuous cycle that serves as its greatest competitive advantage. So the way they are producing, the way they are conserving the environment, the way they are conserving the, the way that things are produced and the wool are produced was communicated effectively. They are very smart in their communication. To the extent that this "Don't buy this jacket" was a campaign that they introduced to tell people to stop consumerism, and they helped them to inform them and make them aware that you don't need to buy this jacket, which is from us. We can help you to repair it. We can help you to fix it. So don't buy it. And guess what? After that campaign, the sales increased dramatically, and lots of people were actually buying this jacket because, in general, Patagonia's products, because they felt this is a source of companies that we want to buy from them. They are really caring about the environment, not only about their profits. They are really caring about the way things are produced, the way things are disposed, the way things are recycled, and the well-being of the society in general. So very interesting example, and customers' perceptions of what the company communicates as social responsibly increase its sales, sustaining double-digit sales and profit growth since 2008. So to conclude, Patagonia's long-term investments in socially responsible environmental and labor initiatives, it is their dearest assets. It's a credit for them, and it really has proved its great performance advantage.
Dr. Shanas, I think several students already raised their hand, and I think they has already a question for you.
Okay. Would you like me to continue with the final example and do the take the question, or would you like? This is the final slide I have. So the final example is HEP is another example. So this is a brand for organic food, for baby food, and it's a company of 4 generations. It's the ethos of this company is really, it's about taking taking responsibility. Let's go back. The company focus on conservation of nature, respectful treatment of nature resources, and protection of biodiversity. So that's what the company from the very beginning stands for. HIP stood for ecological agriculture and sustainable values for over 50 years. 4 generations are family. It's a family business with 4 generations continuing the same values and the same ethos of the company. The company works closely with the environmental and ecological organizations, supporting future free from genetic engineering and protecting the biodiversity through organic farming. They introduce different ways of doing that. They introduce different technologies for farming. It's the first major European food producer to introduce an EMAS-based environmental management system, which is continuously improving its eco-balance. I'm sure people from agriculture, they know these systems even more than me, better than me. Since the system was implemented early in 1995, the company has succeeded in reducing its water consumption by 2/3 and its energy consumption by over 1/2. So it's not just a brand that sells like food, organic food, but even the way they are producing this is really environmentally friendly and integrating all the technologies that helps in water and waste management. So these are different examples, and of course one of the highest growest very highly growing companies in terms of reputation. Everyone knows that when you buy these products, you are buying it from a safe place. So what I want to say finally, I want to close with Steve Jobs, of course, Apple's founders, quote when he said that the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And I think that every one of us and every one of you are lucky enough, because we are now having lots of awareness about these issues and about these concepts, and our minds are opened to these kinds of new perspectives for business, the way we look at business, the way we look at production, the way we look at consumption. And we are so lucky to be aware and understand all these issues early on, so that for you, future managers, future entrepreneurs, future, at any capacity, you can apply these concepts, you can apply these perspectives into any capacity you have. So thank you so much for listening, and I am now up to any questions you have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shanas, for a really good presentation. So many students raise their hand. I think they will have a good question as well for you. The first opportunity, I will give it to Hasna Nur.
Yes, me.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
So, I'm good, thank you. And so the question is, how does the CCR program works in a small company or a startup business?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. Excellent question. The company from the very beginning, as I give some examples of these companies were started small. So it's from the very beginning, the company integrates sustainability into its strategies. So Tom's Shoes started with a very small company. So the idea from the beginning, you start with the social value, environmental value, and then you build the business on it. This is how the idea about shared value creation or sustainable business starts or is done. It's about like, okay, how can I start a product? How can I start a product that can solve a social or environmental or problem? Tom's said like, okay, I'm going to start shoes, but how can I integrate that? How can I help within these operations, within the way I'm doing my business? How can I help someone else? So for Tom, it was social, about the social value that creates. For HEP, it was about the environmental value that creates. So it depends on what the nature of the business. You can integrate into its core strategies, into its core values, either a social, environmental element in it. It starts all these big corporations, it started small and it grew. Yeah.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you. Any other questions you have?
I have question.
Yes, please.
Hello, Ms. Anas. Good morning. My name is Nadine. May I ask a couple of questions?
Yes, please.
Do both of CSR and SPR programs take advantage of the company's strength? And if I was a business holder, how do I maintain all of corporate social responsibilities without harming the company and the environment? Is there any helpful strategy that you would like to share, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you. So can you repeat the first question again?
Sorry, ma'am. Do both of CSR and SPR programs take advantage of the company's strength?
The company's strengths, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, both of them, they take, of course, because it's about incorporating CSR into your core strategy. This is the most successful way of practicing CSR. So that's why I'm saying, I give some examples of if companies that are, for example, an IT company, it can incorporate CSR within their core values and strategies. So they can do CSR by going, for example, to the communities, universities, schools, and help students to understand the latest technologies. But if they go, this is their core strategy, this is their strength, this is what they actually know and how and know what to do. But if they go and build, for example, a school or a hospital, this is something that is not integrated in their core values or in their core strategies. They don't know how to manage a hospital. They don't know how to sustain a hospital. They don't know how to work in a hospital. So it's really, it has, any CSR activities has to be incorporated and has to be derived from the core strategies and the core strengths of a business. Otherwise, these CSR activities are not going to be sustainable. They are not going to be effective, and they are not going to have a long-term impact. So yes, it has to be linked to the core strengths of the business. The second question, you had another question. What was it?
Yes, okay. Thank you for the answer about that. And the second question is, if I was a business holder, how do I maintain all of corporate social responsibilities without harming the company and the environment? Is there any helpful strategy that you would like to share, ma'am? Thank you.
It's really about looking at the supply chain. So the value, it's about the supply chain. You need to look at the supply chain of your business. So for example, you need to look at how this business is supplying its products. So from the very beginning until the end, that is the most important thing, is to look at the very beginning, what is the main source, what are the ingredients, what is the material, where the supply chain starts from. Because the main issues about like what is happening and what created these big propaganda about CSR is that companies, they locate and they sell the product in one part of the world, while in another part of the world, the same product, the exact same product is coming from child labor, violation of human rights, violation of labor rights. In some places, the companies some of the big companies, they are hiring, the employees are working in the factories 18 and 12 hours, even more, 12 or 18 hours without breaks, without good working conditions, and all these things are harming the company's reputation because they are not taking care of the supply. So that's why it's really extremely important to look at how the company is looking at the supply chain. So this is a very extremely important strategy, is to look at the supply chain from the very beginning until the end, to make sure that this product, the way it's produced, the way it is sold, or the service, the way it is delivered, they are done in a socially responsible manner.
Thank you, ma'am, for the answers.
Okay. Next from Helmi.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me. I have 2 questions.
Thank you. Hello, Helmi.
Yeah, the first, I want to ask about, has the implementation of CSR and CSV been regulated by valid laws? Ma'am? Yeah.
They are regulated by, the question is that, are they regulated by?
By valid laws.
What is that again? Sorry.
Valid laws.
Valid
Laws. Law.
Valid laws. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's the question, right? Any other questions?
The second, I understand that CSR is a way for companies to improve people's life through the donation and other assistance. Based on existing experience, is ever CSR and CSV directly reduce profits against companies that implemented it? Then what is the right solution to overcome it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Excellent question. Thank you so much. The first question is about the regulations. Yes, of course, corporate social responsibility is now being regulated in many countries in many ways. One of the examples is that in many countries, all the large corporations are required by law to have, in addition to the performance and the financial performance reports, they are required by law to have a corporate social responsibility report. So they need to have reports. There is also lots of audits. For example, the Patagonia's example, this wool company, they have their audits. The audits are included in the company's report, so it is public. That's why people are actually trusting them, because there is a regulation, or there is someone who came and audited their social practices, their environmental practices, and they saw that they are actually meeting these regulations, and these are published. So there is lots of laws and regulation that publishes and that looks at the socially responsible practices. CSR reports. There is also some certifications like the ISO. So there is ISO certifications also, so they come and look at what you are doing. There is specific criteria. If the company met the criteria, then they are getting these ISO certifications. There is also something called the United Nations Global Compact, also another kind of certification that companies can become member only if they are achieving the specific criteria and they have the United Nations Global Compact report. So there's lots of reporting, there is lots of auditing, there is lots of formal legal things that are, and there are some companies who actually, there are some countries that they are actually forcing, and they are legislating laws that make sure that the companies are adhering to specific environmental standard, like for example in age standards. So in some countries there is a minimum age for children or for people to work. So children under age of 18 cannot work in specific countries, or under the age of 16. So now they are regulating these things like child labor. Working conditions of employees also are regulated by law. Each employee are not allowed to work more than these hours. There is a minimum wage. So there are lots of course, environmental, social laws and regulations are in different countries. Thank you.
Okay. I think the last question is from Adila Ajeng Lestari. Adila, time is yours.
Yeah, thanks for the an opportunity. Okay, my question is how to communicate farmers who has a different behavior about farming strategy that they are able to accept it well from CSR company. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Okay. The question is how to communicate farmers who has a different behavior about farming strategy that they are able to accept it well from CSR company. Thank you.
Thank you. So your question is about how to communicate to farmers these kinds of ways and how to improve them, their lives, and how to improve to educate them and all these things. It's again coming from the community. That's why companies need to go to use CSR as a top-down, as a bottom-up approach, meaning that it's coming from the ground, it's grass-rooted, it's coming from the community itself. So it needs to have a connection with the community, like the case of Divine Chocolate. The shareholders are the farmers themselves. So they know there is the shareholders that sits into the board of directors and decide what the community needs are coming from the community itself. So my suggestion or my view is that bottom-up approach to CSR is what is effective. Companies need to be in contact with the community in order to understand what are the needs, what are the farmers needing, what are the what skills they are lacking, what technology they need. So they need to educate them, they need to help them. So it's coming from the company's responsibility to be integrated and included in the community itself through this bottom-up approach.
Okay. Is that clear enough, Adila Ajeng?
Yeah. Thanks for the answer, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the question.
Okay, Dr. Shanas, I think it is good to discuss about business communication in the perspective of corporate social responsibility. And this is just the first session, and then we will continue next week, hopefully. And I would like thank you very much for Dr. Shanas for joining us today, and also for all students. Hopefully, this is a good opportunity for us to get what I say environmental lecture class, yeah, with Dr. Shanas. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think my next session is going to expand more in this perspective, and we'll talk about innovation, sustainability, and we will continue our discussion, our session on that. So I'm very excited and I'm very looking forward to it.
Yes, yes. Okay. So now time in Indonesia is about 3 p.m. and in UK still early morning at 9.
Yes, it's 9 here.
Yes. So I think we have to complete this virtual online international guest lecture today, and thank you for all your participants. Yeah, and then especially for Dr. Shanas, we will meet in the next weeks. Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. So hopefully this is useful for us, and we will see on the next weeks at the same time. Thank you.
I think an hour early.
Yes, yes. I mean the whole we schedule start from 7 to 9. Yeah, it's okay. So thank you and good evening for everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Wait a second. Terima kasih untuk semuanya sudah bergabung. Mudah-mudahan ini pengalaman baik ya. jangan lupa nanti di-share di Google Classroom sebagai bukti bahwa Anda mengikuti kelas ini, ya. Saya mungkin secara